Imagine being a fit and healthy 30-year-old playing regularly with your local GAA club when all of a sudden you suffer not one, not two, but 3 heart attacks. Yes, that's exactly what happened to our next guest when his health nightmare struck last August.
Kieran Byrne joins us this morning to tell us his story, and he's joined by Irish Heart Foundation's Medical Director, Dr. Angie Brown, to shed light on what happened and to tell us about their new virtual fundraising event. Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Angie, we'll come to you in a minute or two to talk about the campaign and talk about Kieran's condition and maybe symptoms that we can keep an eye out. But Kieran, we might start with you. As Anna said in the introduction, you're 30 years of age, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing a bit of boxing, you're playing GAA, you're in decent nick, and then all of a sudden symptoms appear. Tell us and take us back to when the symptoms first appeared.
They would have started then probably around 2012 when I started having trouble with my eyes, not being able to see correctly. I would have seen like blue kind of spots, and in my peripheral vision, I would have just seen a really hazy kind of look, and it progressively got worse over the years. And then say in and around mid 2016, I started getting pains in my chest and stuff, and the pain started off just like light, and as they progressively got worse, I would have had other symptoms of pains in my head and feeling numbness in all of my hands and in my jaws, and just the vision as well would have just got worse. So after just a couple of years, I could just eventually said that I just go into the hospital and get checked out again, because we were just thinking it was anxiety. Yeah. And so then when we went in, it was just the crushing pain just kept getting worse and worse over the duration of the time it was happening. Like, it just never kind of got any lighter, it just always got worse.
Well, I was going to say to you, Kieran, there must have been, and you said it there, the crushing pain, there must have been a moment where you thought, I need to do something about that.
Well, Nicola there would have always been saying to me, like, she's seen how sore I was and like, the effects it was having on me. And she was always saying to me to go into the hospital and get checked out again. But I was always just under the illusion that I was anxiety. So I never really needed to feel like I actually needed to go into the hospital to get checked again. So there was just one day in particular, I came home from work and I was kind of going blind in the van on the way home, and I had to pull over for a little while, and then I eventually got home. And after I got home, I just said to Nicola, I was like, I got to go for a nap, like, it's just, my head is killing me. So after like 2 hours of waking, I woke up and pain never went to my head. My chest was just the worst I've ever felt. It was just like the Hulk was just standing on my chest. Like, I just couldn't get any kind of breath at all. And then I just felt this big rush coming over from my head to my toes of just this numbness taking over my body. And it just stayed in my jaws, it stayed in my hands. And the migraine just kept there, and the pain in my chest. And it got too much. Like, and I just sat there and I said to Nicola, I was like, I really don't feel great. And I think it's about time that I actually go to the hospital and get checked out. It was just, it was a very, very scary. So
yeah, I'll be honest with you, it sounds utterly terrifying, yeah. Kieran. And like most men, and I don't know, I'm not generalising here, but I say it myself, you think, look, I'll be grand, I'll take a couple of tablets, I'll be all right. At that point, then you go to the hospital and you were diagnosed. And just quickly then take us through from then to how you are now, like the treatment, Kieran.
It's been up and down. Like, so I've been in hospital probably 4 times since it happened, with more problems, thinking that like I'm having another episode or so. And being sick and stuff, like, so it can be a bit daunting sometimes, just knowing that you have to face it, because like it can happen at any time. Like, you have pains in your chest again, like, and you just have to be aware of the differences of, let's say, a pain that's really bad for you, say, and then there's a pain that just like kind of your heart's kind of trying to get better. There's like I feel like there's a little bit of a difference. You have to kind of understand what's the difference between each one of the pains that I'm getting now, say, and the different uncomfortable feelings I'm getting.
Well, you've done something about it, Kieran. Maybe I'll bring in Dr. Angie Brown here. Angie, what Kieran suffered was 3 heart attacks ultimately.
That's right. And Kieran is very unusual because he's so young to have that happen to him. And I think the take-home message from Kieran's story is that if you're getting chest pain, and it radiates up to the throat, if it's down the arm, if it's getting worse, occurring with more frequency, that's really a red flag, and that means that you need to go and get that investigated. Kieran went into hospital. He did have a stent to the artery to the front of the heart, which had a 90% blockage. And he's, I think, done some cardiac rehabilitation since then. And that's really helped him get back on track, doing some regular exercises and so on, because it is a very scary time for people.
It's incredible.
But I think the take-home message, as I say, is to get investigated if you're having those symptoms.
Angie, sorry to cut across you, but when Kieran's listing those symptoms, and indeed you talk about that pain in the chest, maybe moving to the throat, the arm, the eyesight, and that's a new one now for me. Is that a typical symptom?
No, that's not a typical symptom. I think Kieran gets migraines as well, and migraines can cause severe headaches and a blurred vision. And, this is kind of spasm in the arteries, and that may have been something that contributed to his heart attacks, because it is unusual to have a heart attack at a young age, but we do see it. But the more common risk factors obviously are things like smoking, so you need to stop smoking, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, poor diet and sedentary lifestyle, and sitting around a lot, which we're all doing at the moment, is an independent risk factor for getting a heart disease or stroke. So really it's very important that we all try and move more.
So that list of symptoms, the most common heart attack symptoms, you've mentioned some of them there. Chest pain is the obvious one, I suppose. The jaw, back, neck or arms, shortness of breath, sweating, nausea, lightheadedness, loss of consciousness, weakness or tiredness. Angie, just talk us through what we can do to try and prevent any of these symptoms coming on.
Well, so the good news is 80% of premature heart disease is preventable. And as I mentioned, smoking is a big risk factor. So really important to try and stop smoking, to have a healthy diet, more fruit, vegetables, chicken and fish, less processed food. Take less alcohol if you can. I think we're all drinking a bit more, so we need to cut back. Get your blood pressure checked. Get your cholesterol and blood sugar and blood sugar checked. Try and keep your weight regular, and try and exercise more and move more.
And as you say, Angie, on your side, in terms of research, etc., that all needs money, and you guys have a campaign which we'll give details about, where you're trying to raise €150,000. You're doing a virtual 5K run or walk, where you're encouraging people to get up off the couch. Listen, we really appreciate you, Kieran, coming on and sharing that story. And Angie, we appreciate your time. Listen, stay safe, and we talk to you again soon.
Look after yourself, Kieran. Thank you to you both. Thanks, Angie.
No problem.
Now, you can find out all the details about the Irish Heart Foundation's virtual fundraiser on irishheart.ie. Great campaign.
One of the things that Angie has in those notes that we didn't get to was don't stay still for too long.
Yeah, sitting us.
Just a reminder, isn't it, to keep moving.
Move.
Right, up next, we're going to do a lap of the studio.
Yes, we are.
During this break, say goodbye to woolly jumpers. We're embracing spring over at the catwalk.